Hey guys, it's Noah here again. I hope your guys' semester has started well and everything's going well with this class and your other classes. So today I just wanted to introduce your family history project, and I'll talk about my office hours briefly. I'll make another video for that your teacher will show you. But for this video, I just want to introduce the family history project, which is going to be the year-long project you guys are doing for this course. It's a 10-page paper, which can sound overwhelming, but I think when you guys see it, it'll seem more manageable, and you'll have a lot of time, and there'll be various checkpoints throughout the year, so you guys can make sure you finish it on time. It shouldn't be too bad. But today I just sort of want to introduce what it's all about, and I'll kind of walk you guys through the first assignment you're going to do for the project. So I'm going to share my screen and pull up the PowerPoint. So if you guys are able to see this, it's the family history project. So just a brief description of what this is. Basically, you guys are going to look into the history of your family to see how does my family history relate to U.S. history since 1877. So basically, you're going to ask, members of your family, and if that's not something they're able to do for whatever reason, we have workarounds for that, and you can talk to Dr. Kais or to me. But basically, what we'll have you do is maybe pick a person you're interested in, whether it be a celebrity or historical figure, and you can kind of look into their family history and do your project around that. So we do have ways to sort of accommodate whatever situation you're in, but we thought this would be a good way to sort of relate your personal history and the history of your family to what you're learning in this course. So this is just a timeline of what you're going to be doing for this project. So the first sort of assignment for this is due September 16th, and I'll kind of go through what this paragraph is going to be all about. But you can see sort of the other checkpoints throughout the semester, and then the final will be due in May. So you've got a good amount of time to get this done, so I wouldn't stress too much about it right now or at all, hopefully. So what we're looking for is a 10-page paper, double spaced, and 12-point Times New Roman, probably how you guys have been writing papers or doing work so far. And we're going to need at least 6 primary sources used beyond the class material, and those can be 3 of the 4 that are listed here, which are textual, oral, visual, and material. So I'm sure you guys have been through this before, but a primary source is just something that was created or something that was not something that was written after the fact. So an example of a textual primary source would be maybe a letter that your grandfather wrote to your grandmother, or vice versa, something that's has text and that was produced and written. It could even be a newspaper article from the 1940s or something like that. An example of an oral primary source could be maybe for the project you interview one of your parents or one of your grandparents or someone in your family, and you record the interview, and then you include quotations from that in your final paper. That would be an example of an oral primary source. Visual primary source, again, pretty straightforward. It could be just a photo, a family photo from years ago, anything like that. Typically pictures, videos, anything like that. And material could be, for example, if you're one of your grandparents fought in Vietnam or something like that, and they have some sort of memorabilia from the war, some medal that they earned, that would be an example of a material primary source. So just anything physical that you can sort of look at and analyze to demonstrate history. And then on the next page, we'll look at secondary sources. So you need at least 4 secondary sources beyond class material. So these will typically come through archives, either at UNR or UNLV. So these are anything like history books or articles that have been written about events. I did a similar project like this with undergraduate students at UNR. All of them said that their grandparents fought in World War II or in Korea. So a way to use sort of a secondary source to talk about that would be to look up, an article written by a historian or something, or a scholar talking about, trends with veterans from one of those wars, for example, or something like that. So just something that's been written about an event or primary source sort of after the fact, and something that's analyzing it. So we have 4 listed here, databases, which are probably the most common way to access these resources. If you just search, UNR libraries or UNLV special collections, it should come up and you'll be able to see materials online. There's also physical archives. Pretty much every university is going to have archives somewhere on campus, usually in the library, kind of in the back, and they'll just have different materials that you can pull from to look at. And then there'll be private archives. Maybe your family has some collection of materials or things written about the family or the family history or some event that they were involved in. It could also just be like a family library where they have books that are written about a certain event. And that can also be places, so any locations, like it says, that are significant to family and U.S. history. This could be war memorials or just other locations that relate to that. If your family is in a union, maybe it's a place where they would work, where the families worked for a while. So those are just some examples, but I'm sure as you guys sort of get into this, you'll understand that better. And then just to wrap up this discussion, so the first assignment, which again is due on September 16th, so a couple weeks away, it's just a short paragraph sort of introducing your project and what you're going to be talking about. So really what we're looking for you to do between now and then is to just sort of do some preliminary research into maybe what you're going to write about, maybe just talk to people in your family, or if that's not something you're able to do, just maybe start to do some thinking about a celebrity or some historical figure that you have some interest in, and sort of start to do some brief dives into sort of their history, their family history. There's a couple shows that have been on one, Henry Louis Gates. I think Finding Your Roots is one that you could sort of look to, and as an example, there's episodes online. I think it's on Peacock, the streaming service, as well. Just a sort of example of what family history research kind of looks like. But again, just between now and then, all you need to do is just sort of some preliminary talking to your family, things like that, just sort of figuring out, briefly what your family history is. And then you'll turn that into a short paragraph where you're just introducing what you're going to be talking about in the project, sort of proposing what your project is going to cover. And I'll, again, make another video for this, but if you have questions about this, I'll have my office hours, and then you can also send me an email if you have any questions, if this is confusing. But it should be, probably between 5 to 8 sentences, just saying basically what you're going to discuss, briefly what your family history is, and sort of where you want the project to go. I'm trying to keep it a little bit vague so you guys can sort of take it your own way. It should be your own project, and it should be sort of a unique paragraph to you, just like the project will be unique, just like you guys' families are unique. So that's briefly the first assignment you're going to do. Again, between 5 to 8 sentences roughly, and due September 16th. So I'll stop sharing now and go back to my Zoom. Sorry. So again, that's briefly the family history project. If you have any questions, again, I'll have the office hours, and I'm always available by email, and I can email you guys back with any answers to your questions. And in the next video you'll watch, I'll introduce my office hours, and I'll have my email and all that, and you should have that anyway. So I'm available, Dr. Kai's available, your teachers are of course there for you. So hopefully this should be a fun project for you guys and not too stressful. All right, thanks.